Hi, it's Matt here from TubeEO.com. In this video I want to explain how to work out your costs, your planning or plan for your costs in AdWords. Now there's a few, I've done up a spreadsheet and I will make this available via the website to my subscribers or through the email follow-ups that I do, and you can get those from TubeEO.com. Now there's a couple of key things that I really want to point out here when it comes to your campaigns, and one of the key concepts is the price you can afford to pay per click is very much related to the price of the offer that you're selling. If you're selling a $10 or $20 item or even a $50 item, you're going to have a very tough time outbidding people that are selling, say, a $97 or $100 item or a $200 item, simply because their margins are going to be better. So this section down here in the orange, this section of the spreadsheet, is the AdWords revenue and margins. So this column here is the revenue. If they're paying 6 cents per bid and $50, then it's $140 revenue and a 70% margin. Now where that's drawn from, let me just explain this spreadsheet. This here is the amount of impressions. That's how many times your video is noticed. This here, served. This here is the amount of views, in other words, the amount of times it goes over 30 seconds. This is the amount of clicks you get per video. The amount of leads, in other words, the amount of people that go to your website and do whatever it is you want done from your video. And the amount of sales that you draw in from those leads. These are the percentages. So what I've done is, you'll notice here I've said you can change these boxes in the red. So that's these ones here, this one, and this one here. Now let me just quickly explain those. The costs, the percentage of views relative to impressions, I've just set that at 20%. You should be able to achieve that. Often when you start a campaign it's going to be a fair bit lower, maybe around 10%. But as you start to target and your campaign gets better and better, you should easily be able to get that up to at least 15 or 20%. And if it's a really good campaign, you might be able to get it considerably higher than that, or a particularly good niche. Now I'll just change that back to 20. Now this one here, you should really, if you've got a good quality video, a relevant message, and you're well targeted, you've put your video in the right places, you should possibly be able to get that up to around about 50% for most campaigns. There are some campaigns where you will actually achieve well over 100%. I've seen that up to 140%, and I'll go into that in another video, but just let's stick with around about 50%. If you want to be conservative, you can bump it down to, say, about 40%. This one here is your leads, the amount of your clicks that will turn into leads, and let's go with 20%, which is achievable, and sales 10%. Now the reason this one here is in red is because if I change that to 100, I've just made these other cells double that, and then that doubles this one here, and looks like I forgot to drag that across, so I'll do that now, and that one doubles again. So now you'll notice this one here as well is in red. So that's your cents cost per click, and I've basically, this one here is that plus 2 cents, it's that one plus 2 cents, etc. Okay, so watch, if I change this to 8, all the other ones will increase by 2 cents, so 0.08, and you'll notice that's gone up to 10 cents, 12 cents and 14 cents. I'll just make that like so. Now, but let's start that much lower, because most of my campaigns I'm able to get around the 5 or 6 cent mark, and some as low as 3 cents. And let's just change that. Okay, now what I want you to notice is I want you to pay attention. I'm going to make a change up here on the conversion percentage, and I want you to watch these percentages here. They won't change. So just watch this column. When I change this to, let's have a look at our views and change our view rate to 50%. Now notice none of those percentages changed. Your margin stays the same. So that's a very, very important concept when it comes to your keyword campaigns. The amount of views relative to the amount of impressions doesn't change your margin. What it does change though is your revenue. So watch the revenue column. If I press the undo and we go back down to 20%, the revenue drops but the margin stays the same. So getting more views increases your increases your revenue, but it doesn't change your margin. This is what I call the front end. So if anything happens in the front end, it won't affect the margin. If anything happens in the back end, it dramatically affects the margin. So what I call the back end is after you've already paid for that video to be viewed. So if you can get more clicks out of a video that you've already paid someone to view, because the video ran longer than 30 seconds, then obviously that's going to increase the leads and then increase the sales if you're working on a percentage basis. So let's have a look what happens if we increase the clicks that you're getting from the videos. We won't change the videos again. We'll just put that back down to 20%. Now let's watch what happens when I up that from 50 to 60%. Okay, so I'll press undo, and I want you to watch the margin column and the revenue column. So undo. Notice both of them change. It changes both revenue and margin. So let's have a look at the margin first of all. If you're achieving 50%, it ranges from 94 to 90%, 99%. Okay, so let's go redo. If you're achieving 60%, it's ranging from 95. Now, that was a 10% difference in clicks, but it didn't make a huge difference in those percentages. But watch what happens if our sign-up form or our web page is poor and we're only getting 10% conversion from clicks to leads. Okay. Now the top one, because they've got a very expensive product, this one here didn't change much. But what I want you to do is particularly focus on this line, on the $100 line. In fact, just to make it a little bit easier to change, I'll change that back to a $25 product. And you'll see that these percentages will vary a lot more. So if you're operating in these ranges, these price ranges, which most people are, then you just watch the way that these jump around now. So again, we'll do that. Let's change that from 60% back down to 50%. Now before I do, look, the range of profit margins is 60 to 95. And now it's 52 to 94. Watch what happens when we can achieve, say, a 2% increase in leads. So we got an 8% increase in margin from just 2% better conversion of our clicks to our leads. So small changes, and this is why I tell you to split test your landing pages, because someone would think, oh wow, 2%, that's not worth chasing. And if you're only getting small amount of impressions, then yeah, sure, it's not worth chasing. We're only talking small amounts. But let's up that to, say, a 20,000 impression campaign where we get 4,000 views, 2,000 clicks, and 24 sales. And let's assume we're in the $100 price bracket here. Okay, so if we're in that area, so remember we're looking at these cells here, and I change the leads to the clicks to lead conversion to 10%. Now our revenue is 2,160 and our margin is 90%. We've lost $400 from just a 2% change in our leads. Now that's why we're telling you to split test early. It's because this is only a very small campaign, 20,000 impressions. If this is a campaign that you're going to run over months or years, and you're going to try and scale and leverage it, then you might be looking at a lot more than that number. Well, you might be looking up in the 200,000 mark. So we get 200,000 impressions, 40,000 views, 20,000 clicks, and at least a 200 sales. Now let's look what happens with just a 2% better conversion on your landing page. Okay, so we're looking at the $100 one, and we've got 90% and 21,600. So change it back to 10, a $4,000 difference. Now, this is why I want you to split test, because a $4,000 difference just for minor changes on your landing page or home page, it's not a $4,000 cost. It's maybe at most a $100 cost. If you split test and split test and split test, it might be a $200 cost, but we're talking about $4,000 in revenue difference. Okay, so let's now have a look at your leads to sales. So this might be, maybe you get your leads via email subscriptions. They watch your video, come to your website, they sign up or subscribe. You then send them lots of good stuff via email, and then one day they buy off you because they trust you and you've been offering them great products and they see the value and they want to buy. So now let's have a look if we can change that from 10 to 12%. And again, let's look at a $100 product. So 17,600 and 88% goes up to 90% and 21,600 just by improving your offer and getting or changing your pricing or slightly changing your targeting to improve your sales process, to improve those emails. A $4,000 benefit. Now if you can't improve your offer and your emails with $4,000, then you're doing something very, very wrong. Now, this is where I really want to focus on. What happens is when you can increase all of those a little bit, you get a magnifying effect. So let's go back to 20% for the first one, 50, 10, and 10. Now watch what happens. Let's start here. Okay, let's actually just paste these so we can we'll paste the value so that we've got them. Now, watch what happens if we can increase all of these just a little bit by split testing and by targeting. And this is where AdWords experts are worth their money in gold. So if we can increase that from say 20% to 24%, our revenue has already gone up by $4,000. Let's forget about the margin for the moment. Let's just focus on revenue. If we can increase that from 50 to 55%, we've gone up another $2,000. We're already up almost $6,000. That concludes part one. You'll need to head over to YouTube for part two to my channel due to the 15-minute maximum per video, and I'll continue exactly where we've left off. Thanks for watching.